Now, when you think of an old Florida cemetery, is this what you would think of? There's nobody around anywhere, only the sounds of animals. There could be snakes, could be gators. You just never know. Welcome, everybody. Today we are in just outside of Gainesville, Florida, and there was a sign that said Historic Cemetery just right off the road. So me being me, and those of you watching probably have the same fascination with historic cemeteries, I had to stop and check this place out because first off, if it says Historic Cemetery, we're going to come and check it out. But second, this place is pretty good size. There's a lot of interesting grave markers here, a lot of things that I have never seen before, and I've never seen a cemetery with this kind of a layout. There are grave markers all over this, but there's also a lot of trees, there's gardens in between, palm trees, but it's almost like a jungle where there's graves randomly scattered. So let's take a look around and see what we can find here. Well, this one's kind of intriguing. Maybe you can read it a little bit better than I can. It looks like it's Abney Emerson. 1861 to 1908 is what it looks like to me. Maybe it shows up a little bit better on camera, but that's a unique stone. That is really neat. Just over here is one of the more classic tombstone looks. In memory of John W. Price, born 1823, died 1891. Mary Eleanor. Captain J.D. Johnson, 1833 to 1890. And hopefully the camera does justice of this place. It is neat, it's historic, and it looks like the kind of place where, you know, some of those horror movies could possibly be filmed. Looks like there's a broken fence right here. You just never know what you're going to see at places like this, though. Now, before this, I was unfamiliar that this cemetery even existed, and I really don't have cell phone reception right where I'm at, so I'm unable to look and see if there's any notable names laid to rest here. Aged 41 years. Now this is what we have to come and check out here. Oh, that was a massive lizard that just kind of spooked me a little. Not gonna lie, you just never know what kind of wildlife you're gonna encounter here. Annie Gertrude. This is pretty spectacular. John Jacob Barr, 1844 to 1921. See, there are a lot of plots here that are fenced off. And it looks like these are not kept up very well. And it really looks like this place has, like, they showed up and created a cemetery, everybody left, and it's all kind of forgotten. Just kind of sad, but it makes it interesting to explore. Here's one that's fenced in here. This is Joseph Henry, son of Elijah and Alira Ringo, I think. It's kind of hard to read this. That shows up a lot better on camera sometimes than it does to the naked eye. 1836 to 1864. CSA, so this would have been a Confederate soldier that passed away during the Civil War. Now there's one up here that kind of piqued my interest a little bit. It looks like a lot of people have left shells and things like that here. Susie E. King, 1885 to 1897. If you can see that, it looks like people have left a lot of things in here. Books and shells and rocks. A comb. Random things here. So there are visitors. But this thing kind of reminds me of an old fireplace. Now you might ask what the reason is that I ended up going by this cemetery in the middle of nowhere. I was actually shooting another video about River Phoenix, and his family lived and still does live about a mile down this way. So odds are this video will be live before that one is. So be sure to check that out if you're a fan of River Phoenix. Places like this do feel a little bit majestic in some way. You have these big trees, all the Spanish moss hanging from them. It's pretty fascinating. Walk around this side. I guess there's one house over here. Little walking trail. Now this is what's interesting here. These ones over here, this one 1872 to 1919. These two are both older. Then you have one here from 1935. And then a much more recent one, 1985. Hopefully the crunching of leaves isn't too obnoxious. As you can see, there's leaves all over the ground here, so it's impossible to walk around and not make any noise. There's a lot of history in a place like this. James Bruton, King's Florida Home Guard, Confederate States of America, May 11th, 1850 to February 22nd, 1939. His wife Cornelia. There's Nancy C. Hall. That died at the 40th year of age. I always love when they put pictures out so you can kind of get a visual for what people looked like, or what kind of people they might have been, the life they might have lived. A lot of times there will be something on a tombstone that'll kind of signify what was important to them in life. See what this sign says. It says the cemetery was founded by physician H.L. Montgomery in the early 1800s, with land later being deeded to the cemetery trustees in 1897. Trustees gave the cemetery to the town in 1905. It's kind of hard to read the rest of this. The sign's very weathered. But this place has been around since the early 1800s, and it definitely looks like it. There is something about cemeteries that definitely bring you peace. Here's a really nice statue here. It is broken a little bit in the back too, and it does not appear to be marked. You can see that. Yeah, there's definitely something living in there. You just never know. Things like that, you could be intrigued by it, look in there, and get bit in the face by a snake. That would not be fun. Captain Hal Beaver Wood, 1928 to 2013, USNA class of 1954. Over here we have a couple more statues. This is interesting. I'm not sure I've ever seen a grave marker that was carved in by hand. And just over here is one more statue. These old cemeteries are just beautiful and so peaceful. Well, hopefully you enjoyed that quick walk through a historic cemetery here just outside of Gainesville, Florida. A lot of interesting things down here, a lot of history, but stay tuned because there's going to be a lot of really cool stuff coming up on this channel. A lot of historic sites. There's going to be interesting cemetery tours, historic sites, presidential locations. There's a lot of video that I've shot over the last couple of months, and so many more that I'm going to be shooting in the next couple of months coming up. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next video. Take care, everybody.